Welcome to the Never Ending Backlog podcast, your place for short reviews from a gamer with the goal of reducing his backlog. From adventures to sandboxes, join our host as we walk through a collection of unplayed treasures. Now, let's take a look at the featured game of this episode of the Never Ending Backlog.
Hello, backloggers, and welcome back to the Never Ending Backlog. I'm your host, Zach, and we are jumping back into things. So we're doing two formats moving forward, and I think it'll be a little bit easier. One, we're going to be making sure that, we record once per week. So one game a week. I have 900 games. That basically would mean it would take 16 years for me to go through all my games. And obviously, I'll add more to that time frame as we progress. But the next thing I wanted to make sure that I do is for the format itself is I'll be doing this voiceover like I am now. No screen no cameras and all that stuff. Just screen recording of me playing the actual game with this overlay. So you can kind of see, what I'm talking about and all that type of stuff. This will allow me to roll out videos in a little bit more of a slower manner, which I think will be nice, but consistent. And then B, I can use this audio clip with my other service provider I'm working with, Guide. So if you haven't checked it out, check out on neverendingbacklog.com. Check out my Guide. And Guide, basically all it is just a video or a nice interface that has an audio, and then it has links to various stuff. So I'm like, oh, you should check out this, and then I can link to it. Or, oh, you should check out this screenshot, and I can link to it. Or I can check out this YouTube video for this review, and it'll have a link to the YouTube video to see if you want to see gameplay footage. I'm going to try to keep all these to about 10 minutes or less, just because I think anything more just drags on. And so that's how it's going to be moving forward. I'm pretty excited about this new format. And today we are reviewing Two Worlds 2 HD on Steam. It was released on February 3rd, 2011. Mostly positive reviews. More recent ones, though, or I guess mostly positive for the most recent reviews. All reviews about mixed, though. And developer is Reality Pump Studios. Publisher is Topware Interactive, Ace. And I remember the Two Worlds game, the first one, many, many years ago. And like I said, this one came out in 2011. So it's been 11 years now. So it's been a little while. For reference, Fable, I believe The Lost Chapters came out in 2011 as well. And I'd probably put this kind of comparatively, I guess, in that genre of game type. Maybe the Ultima series and those type of ones as well. And, it's... If you've ever seen, I'm just going to touch base on basically all these things: graphics, audio, controls, gameplay, and would I recommend it? So let's just go with the graphics first. I would say the graphics are definitely cleaner and prettier than Fable: The Lost Chapters. I like Fable, the game, so I think they're one of my favorite light RPG type of games. If you've ever seen the Apple Plus show Mythic Quest, it looks like they used Two Worlds 2 HD for all of the cinematic views throughout that thing. It's a hilarious show. I highly recommend it. But the video looks exactly the same. Audio, I would say my character's voice I chose, and maybe it's just my character's voice, sounds like the star from Duke Nukem Forever. Not Duke Nukem 3D. It's pretty terrible sounding in my opinion. It's not good. Not good. I don't care for the audio. I think the voice effects are laughable at best. The music sounds okay, so I'll give them that. And jumping back to the graphics, I should say they're not bad graphics. They're actually pretty clean graphics in some parts. Some parts I feel like they spent all their time making the graphics look really pretty. So if you look at like the wildlife and you look at the flowers, and you'll notice in my video shots, a lot of it is based on looking at the flowers. It's a very beautiful environment game. I feel like they spent all their time making kind of realistic jungles and forests, but then you start seeing the actual gameplay and you're like, whoa, well, I took a sharp turn to bad. I think the game really, really, really fails when it comes to controls. Oh my goodness. You can tell that this was made for a console first and then ported to the PC. You can just tell. And they were super lazy with this porting because the left mouse button and the right mouse button does absolutely everything. And like I said, you'll see it in the game. You'll see if I'm crawling or if I'm sneaking, that is, I think, the right mouse button. If you see me sprinting, that is the right mouse button. Yeah, and you might be like, well, how does that work? You have to be moving forward. If you're moving forward and you hold down the right mouse button, that's sneak. If If you're standing still and you push the right mouse button, that is sneak. If you're walking and you push the right mouse button, that is running. Left mouse button does all this type of stuff. Right mouse button in battle also blocks. So the right mouse button does like 20 different things depending on how the character's moving. And you think like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. That's actually nice. It's not, because it only is nice if it actually works every time, and it doesn't. There are so many times that I'd be pushing something like, why is this not working? And you have to be doing the exact same movement at the exact same time. It's pairing combos almost in a really bad way, not in a good way at all. Also, all this stuff is kind of weird. I mean, like F2 does stuff like a regular stuff. It's like F2 is open your inventory. And I'm like, what? Or interact. Guess what you think interact? You think about games, interact. You think E, F, at the very far stretch, enter. That's really rare, but that's usually the recommended. Spacebar is that. That's spacebar. Spacebar's interact. Guess what else spacebar does? Jump, which is also what you'd expect spacebar to do. It's so weird. It's such I don't know why they did it. And like I said, I'm assuming it's just a really poor porting from console to PC, and they're just like, yeah, it works as it is. And I think it felt lazy. I think it's a really terrible interface. It's one of the worst interfaces I've ever played in a game. It's just awful. Gameplay, I don't know. It starts off as every other RPG game there ever is. It is your medieval fantasy plotline, and you get rescued from prison. And you got to escape. That seems familiar if you've played, Elder Scrolls games and other ones, or Dark Souls games. Like, that happens quite a bit in a lot of games. So it's kind of disappointing that that's how this game starts. I mean, there's so many options that games could go and do different things, but I feel like it's always getting rescued from prison. So, not the most ingenious kind of thing. Yeah, so I mean, I just don't think it's that great of a game. I mean, and I will be kind in saying it was made in 2011. It is 11 years old, so I have to always put that in perspective. The problem I have with it is this game is $20. The Two Worlds 2 bundle with the expansion is $25, and if I buy the Two Worlds collection, it's $40. That's crazy. $20 alone for this game is not worth it. It is not optimized well. It does actually work on my ultra wide, so I will give them that. That's really nice of them to do that. But I could not get 1920 by 1080 from the menus. Now I know I read config files that I can do it there, but I'm like, I shouldn't have to do that. This game isn't that old. 2011 is not that old where 1920 by 1080 is not supported, especially since ultra wide is supported. Apparently, it does have online PvP, online co-op, cross-platform multiplayer. That's interesting. I did not get a chance to try it out. Like I said, the interface was terrible, and the actual the dialogue was laughable. It was extremely frustrating. It was super frustrating. There's scenes that you could skip. There's scenes you could not skip. There's a lot of dialogue, and I don't think it was that great of a game. Now, that being said, if you like RPG games and you want something different than Elder Scrolls, and you want something different than Fable, and you want something different than Dark Souls, yeah, maybe it's not bad to check it out. Maybe it might be up your alley. I just think the problem that I had the most with was the controls. The controls just ruined it. I think it's just a terrible interface. It does have full controller support, and maybe that's what I should have tried it as, with an Xbox 360 controller, or maybe the Steam controller. That probably would have made the experience 1,000 times better. Or maybe if I had tried it on a console, maybe it was 1,000 times better, because it's not bad. I mean, the dialogue, like I said, is laughable. The graphics, I think, are actually probably the best part of the game. Is the graphics are actually really pretty. Like I said, I think they spent too much time on the graphics, to be honest, and less time in the actual storyline. It just seems like a very watered down and empty RPG. I don't feel pulled into this world in any way, shape, or form, which is unfortunate, because that's the whole purpose of a medieval fantasy RPG game, is to get pulled into that world that you live in. But yeah, so that was my review. I do not recommend the game for $20. If you can find it on sale for super cheap, or you find it in a bundle, like I'm sure I did, yeah, check it out, try it out, see if you like it. I'm a big fan of these type of RPG games, but this one just did not settle well with me. So anyway, thank you for joining me in this episode of the Never Ending Backlog. I will see you all next week.